See, the tough guy has a soft spot. She's had a long day, all right? Right, a very long day. You guys are impossible. We know. Look at him, the ultimate protector. Yeah, he's not letting go. Shh, you'll wake her.
The first thing anyone noticed was the silence that fell like a dropped glass. It happened in a warm corner cafe where the smell of burnt espresso mixed with cinnamon, where people usually scrolled their phones and ignored each other's lives. That morning, a man sat alone at a small table, shoulders slightly hunched, one arm wrapped protectively around a sleepy little girl. His clothes were plain, his eyes tired in a way that spoke of years without rest. Across the room, laughter rose sharp and cruel, cutting through the calm. What began as casual mockery was about to turn into something no one there would ever forget. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet strength hidden inside ordinary people, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel Silent Hope. Stories like this remind us that not every hero wears a uniform in public. The single dad's name was Aaron Cole, though no one in the cafe knew it then. To them, he looked like another worn-down parent barely holding life together. His daughter, Lily, was 6 years old, her small fingers clutching a cracked pink toy horse, her head resting against his chest. Aaron had chosen the corner table because it felt safer, because it let him watch the door and the room at the same time. Old habits die hard, even when the reasons for them are buried deep and never spoken aloud. Aaron's life had collapsed quietly years earlier. His wife had died suddenly from a medical complication that came like a thief in the night, leaving him with grief he never learned how to name. Overnight, he became a single father, a man juggling school lunches, hospital bills, night shifts, and the constant fear of failing the one person who still depended on him. He worked construction when work was available, took security jobs when it wasn't, and slept in fragments that never fully healed his exhaustion. The cafe was a rare pause in his routine, a place where Lily liked the hot chocolate and he liked pretending for 10 minutes that the world was gentle. Across the room sat 3 men in expensive jackets, loud voices carrying confidence sharpened into arrogance. They were the kind who measured worth by watches and shoes, who laughed at anyone who didn't fit their idea of success. Their attention drifted to Aaron the way predators sense weakness. They noticed his worn boots, the faded jacket, the child's backpack at his feet. One of them leaned back, smirking, and made a comment loud enough to be heard. Another laughed, nudging his friend, eyes lingering on Lily in a way that made Aaron's spine tighten. Aaron didn't respond. He never did. Years of swallowing pride had taught him that silence was cheaper than confrontation. He focused on Lily, brushing a strand of hair from her face, breathing slowly to keep the old tension from rising. But the mocking didn't stop. It escalated, fed by the approval of their own laughter. The words grew sharper, more personal, aimed at his ability to provide, to protect, to be a man. Around them, people pretended not to hear. Cups were lifted, phones checked, eyes averted. The cafe returned to its hum, leaving Aaron alone in the spotlight of humiliation. Inside him, something old stirred. Not anger exactly, but memory, a different life. A different version of himself that had once been trained to respond instantly, decisively, without hesitation. He had buried that man after Lily was born, after his wife's death, after deciding that violence had no place in the world he wanted for his daughter. He had promised himself that his hands would only build, not break. Still, his body remembered what his mind tried to forget. The moment shifted when one of the men stood up, moving closer, invading the fragile bubble around Aaron and Lily. The laughter dropped into a dangerous hush. The man's presence was meant to intimidate, to assert dominance. Lily stirred, sensing the change, her grip tightening. Aaron felt it then, the line being crossed. Something deeper than pride demanded attention now. This was not about him anymore. This was about his child's safety, about the invisible line every parent carries inside them. Time slowed the way it does just before a storm breaks. Aaron rose calmly, positioning himself slightly in front of Lily without making a show of it. His movements were economical, controlled, almost gentle. To the untrained eye, it looked like nothing special. To anyone who knew combat, it was unmistakable. His posture shifted, weight balanced, awareness expanding to the entire room. The mocking man reached out, perhaps to shove, perhaps just to provoke. That was when everything changed. What happened next unfolded in seconds, but etched itself into memory like a slow-motion film. Aaron moved with precision that felt unreal in a place of coffee cups and chairs. He redirected the man's momentum, using leverage instead of force, guiding him down in a way without striking, without rage. It was efficient, disciplined, and terrifying in its calm. Another man lunged forward, but Aaron anticipated it, stepping aside, neutralizing the threat with a motion so clean it looked practiced 1,000 times before. No wild punches, no shouting, just control. The cafe erupted into chaos. Chairs scraped, people gasped, someone dropped a cup that shattered against the floor. Within moments, the men who had laughed so confidently were subdued, stunned more by what they had witnessed than by any physical pain. Aaron stood still, breathing evenly, eyes scanning until he was sure Lily was safe. He crouched down, checked her face, and nodded softly. Only then did the tension leave his shoulders. Police arrived quickly, drawn by frantic calls and broken porcelain. Witnesses spoke over each other, trying to describe what they had seen. Some called him a hero, others whispered words like soldier, special forces, something more. Aaron answered questions calmly, providing facts and nothing more. Background checks would later confirm what he never advertised. Years earlier, he had served in an elite special operations unit, the kind trained for missions no one talked about. Delta Force legend was the phrase that would circulate later online, but to Aaron, it was a past life he had put to rest. The cafe owner offered apologies, free drinks, anything to make him stay. Aaron declined politely. He gathered Lily's backpack, lifted her gently, and walked out into the daylight. Outside, his legs finally trembled, the adrenaline fading. Lily wrapped her arms around his neck, her small voice steady, telling him she felt safe. That was all that mattered. The days that followed changed his life in quiet, unexpected ways. A video from a security camera found its way online, edited and shared with breathless captions. People recognized the discipline, the restraint, the unmistakable training. Comments flooded in, praising not just his skill, but his refusal to escalate, his protection of his child. Job offers appeared from places he hadn't considered. Old contacts resurfaced, offering support, resources, respect. More importantly, strangers began to treat him differently, with a kindness that felt cautious but sincere. Aaron didn't chase the attention. He focused on Lily, on building a life where she would never feel small or afraid. He took a new job that allowed him to be home in the evenings. He enrolled her in a school closer to their apartment. Slowly, the weight he carried began to lift, not because the world had become safer, but because he had been reminded of who he was beneath the exhaustion. The cafe incident became a story people told about strength revealed under pressure. But the real power of that day wasn't in the movements or the takedowns. It was in restraint, in a man who had every ability to destroy, choosing instead to protect, to end the threat without becoming one. It was in a father who carried a legacy of violence and transformed it into a shield for his child. Before this story ends, take a moment and comment below with the words quiet strength if you believe that true power doesn't need to shout. Near the end of that year, Aaron returned to the same cafe. This time, he sat by the window, Lily laughing across from him, crumbs on her sweater, eyes bright with safety. No one mocked him. Some recognized him, others didn't, but the room felt different. Or maybe he did. He sipped his coffee, watching his daughter grow, knowing that whatever storms waited ahead, he had already survived worse. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that heroes can look tired, worn, and ordinary, please like the video, share it, and subscribe to Silent Hope. Your support helps stories like this reach people who need to believe that kindness and courage still exist.